Often I'm asked the question, why should someone buy a mutual fund? And you know, that's a very personal decision. And I go back to my own life, and the very first mutual fund I bought, I was about 21 years of age. I was still in university, and I had a very small amount of savings. And the individual that I was working for at the time said, it's time for you to start saving. And I'll be very honest, at 21 years of age as a university student, I was spending. I wasn't particularly concerned about saving. But it was a lesson that was a great lesson to learn early in life, and that is that you're never too young to save. And we don't always take that approach. We always say that we're going to save for tomorrow, that I want the new bike, I want the new car, I'm buying a house, and I have another expense. And when am I going to start saving? And there's a lot of financial planners that say, make sure you take care of your debt first and pay that off and then start saving. Well, I've always been a believer that in financial affairs, you can't do just one thing. That if you concentrate just on paying the mortgage off, sometimes you don't take care of putting a little money aside for your retirement. And if I could emphasize one philosophy, and that is start as early as you can towards savings. And mutual funds are a wonderful way for you to do a consecutive monthly contribution for your future. There's a phrase that I often use to really describe the reason that individuals should start saving young and start saving consecutively. Because before you know it, 30 years passes in your career, as mine, for example, right now. And you often say to yourself, have I saved enough? And the question, kind of a question I often ask is, it doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is, how much money is your money making? Now, what I mean by that is that we all work for a salary, for a wage, for a per diem, for an hourly wage, whatever it is. And that's important. And as you're consuming, that's what you're concentrating on. But as you grow older in life, and as life kind of progresses and you get children, as you get responsibilities, when you have a nest egg and you've put it aside, and you've been able to make that nest egg grow, and you can see that that nest egg is growing by itself, it's a wonderful companion. And it's a great asset. It's a great kind of stress reliever for the individual as you grow a little older. So if you've concentrated just on paying that mortgage off or just on kind of consuming at a point in life, that's when you're going to miss this opportunity for the growth. That one of the most productive things that my wife and I did, if I tell another personal example, is that I was married at 24 years of age. And again, I didn't have a lot of money. My wife did not marry me for my wealth. But the one thing that we did at a very young age is that from 25 years of age onward, we put money away every single year on a yearly basis. Even in those years we were buying a house, even those years we had more expenses, we always put money away for the future. And I thought the future at that point in time was 40 years away. As I look at it now, it's about 5 years away. And I'll tell you that that time has gone by very, very quickly. And what the ability to save like that on a consecutive monthly or at least on a yearly basis where you can put it away, it gives you a type of financial freedom. There's a phrase that's used in my world, and it's called Freedom 55. And that is that there are a lot of people that kind of have a goal in life that they want to retire not at 65, not at 60, but want to retire at 55. And how are you going to do that? Well, mutual funds is a wonderful way of doing that. Because if you do that consecutive monthly contribution, if you're constantly putting a little bit away and it's growing, your money is beginning to make money, then before you know it, you wake up, as I did, and I'm 55, and I have a certain financial freedom. And that certain financial freedom allows you to make choices, whether to choose to work or choose to retire. Choose to vacation more, choose to help my kids as they now finish university and are embarking on purchasing a house. To choose to do the things that I would like to because I made some sound financial decisions over 30 years ago. So I can't I can show you all kinds of numbers and calculations that work, but the best thing that I can tell you as a living example is that I found very, very few people that have ever regretted the fact that they have consistently saved and consistently moved forward to build a net worth above and beyond their day-to-day salary. That type of financial freedom that you create, that type of stress reliever that you get later on, is of enormous value. And we at Beerless Sun Life Mutual Funds, we look at the fact that what we are is a facilitator. It's our job to work with our customers, to work with our distributors, to make sure that you're getting the advice, the counsel, the products necessary to do this. Now, there's a lot of people that concentrate on how is the mutual fund doing this month? What was the performance like? And that's important. I don't want to underestimate that. But any mutual fund will not be the top quartile forever. That's inevitable. Probably you're taking too much risk if that quartile is there for prolonged periods of time. What is important is that you have good, consistent performers, that you have a financial planner, you have advisors, you have a company that works with you as you're making financial decisions that's important for you at this stage of life. Let me give you an example. That when I was young and reckless, and it was quite appropriate for a very large percentage of my net worth, which wasn't a lot at that time, to be in equities. The reason being is, history proves that equities grow over time, and if I look back over my 30 years, it has proven that way in an exceptional way. Now, as I get a little older and I'm thinking that maybe I want to retire or at least financially be prepared to that, then my portfolio is more balanced. I certainly have equity products, but it's not 100%. I have fixed. I have bonds. I have instruments that are appropriate for me at this stage of my life. And when I retire, 5 or 10 years from now or wherever it comes, my portfolio will look different then. And what a mutual fund can do is give you the flexibility of that portfolio management in a very professional way. And that's our job. Our job is to make sure that we offer the products and the services that can help you at the life stage that you're at. Whether you're my son, who's 24 years of age and graduates from university next week, that is very, very important that I share with him the fact that saving at an early age will be of an invaluable asset as he grows older. But he will be saving differently than I did. His risk profile will be different. His appetite for saving will be different. And that's okay. The most important thing is that he understands the concept and he understands the benefit if you go do that. So, what advice could I give anyone that's contemplating purchasing a mutual fund? Well, first of all, don't hesitate, because it's a good decision. The second thing I would say is, don't just buy any fund because someone told you what to buy, or it's hot, or you read about it in the paper and it had a great performance for the last quarter. What you want to do is, first of all, is look at who's offering the mutual fund. What type of professionalism do they use in order to make the investment decisions every day? Is someone sitting down with you and analyzing your needs? Not the needs of your next door neighbor, not the needs of the guy profiled in the paper, but your needs. And do your needs coincide with the product that's being offered? And if not, don't buy the product. Make sure that you're comfortable with that product. Make sure that your goals are important. And let me give you an example. Is that we're all very different, and we can be very, very, we look the same. That when you look at an individual and they're a particular age, you look at them and say, oh no, this is what you should have. But what a good financial advisor will do, what you should do, is make sure that the right questions are being asked. Let me give you an example. Is that some individuals go through life and they're the poster family. They have the normal kids, they have a wonderful marriage, they have an apartment or a home, they're financially solvent, and everything works out fine. And they walk down the street and they look like a great family. And then there's another family that looks exactly the same. But unless the financial advisor asks the right question, they may have a child who is in physical hardship and needs extra benefit. and there's an extra burden or an extra financial need in the future. There may be a mother, a father, a mother-in-law, a father-in-law that also needs financial support that isn't visible. Unless a good financial advisor asks these questions, unless they get to know you and your needs, it's impossible for them to recommend the right product, and it's impossible for you to match your risk profile, the situation in your life, and what's required for you to be successful with the right products. And that's why we have such a broad array of products to satisfy those needs, because everybody has different needs. There's a lot of commonality, and I encourage you to read the papers, read the financial magazines, because they're great and they're educational. But never just buy something because someone said that's the right thing to do, because it may be the right thing for someone else, but not the right thing for you. What else do you want me to cover? Want to cut it for now for a second? Okay, one of the questions that's often asked is why mutual funds? You know, that it's very common for people to go to work, they go to the cafeteria, they sit down, and they said, "Did you hear what Infosys did today?" And they get mesmerized by the fact that the stock and the individual stock is growing. And then people around the table said, "Have you bought this particular stock? Have you bought that particular stock?" And said, "You should buy that. That's really a hot stock." And when you really think of it as to where you're getting your advice, that it's probably not the most, it's probably not the best advice you could get in the world. That my experience is that any time that someone has given me a hot tip, everyone else on the street already knows about it. And as a result, it's not that those stocks won't grow up. It just means that the risk that you're taking by owning those individual stocks is sometimes greater than the individual consumer really realizes. What a mutual fund does is it acts to protect people, because the more people that come together and share their deposit, what ends up happening is that the risk is spread and so is the opportunity. That rather than buying a particular stock that can be quite volatile and can be subject to market pressures for very, very insignificant events. If you look just a couple of years ago, Tylenol, and it was, you know, an external event that caused that stock to be hit very, very hard. No one knew that. So there was a risk associated with it. Now, of course, it's come back and it's a marvelous company now. The point I'm trying to make is that the job of a Beerless Sun Life asset manager is to make sure that they have a sufficient bundle of products that offer different types of portfolios for different consumers. And in those portfolios, you have a bundle of stocks. And we watch those stocks very carefully. That we don't let our portfolio managers buy a stock unless they reach a very rigorous set of criteria. He just can't go out, or she just can't go out and buy a stock on any given day. It has to be researched. It has to be approved by a committee. It has to have a track record. We often go out and visit the management of that company on their premises to make sure that we know that that's a good company. You can't do that. So by us doing that, we protect our investors, and we think that we have a better chance of being successful. And when we do that with a bundle, a pool of products, of different shares, then that protects the consumer. So one of the tremendous advantages of mutual fund is that you're not buying a single stock. You may be buying, you're buying that pool that gives you a much better chance of success. When I arrive to work in the morning, and I usually try and get to work early, it never ceases to amaze me that I'm never the first one in. The first ones in are the portfolio managers. What they're doing is they're reading the newspapers. They're finding out what happened the previous day. They're getting ready for the market to open. They're the ones that aren't sleeping at night, so you can sleep at night. They're the ones that worry every single day about a stock. They're the ones that know the market. They have groups of friends and individuals and researchers that they call upon on an instant's notice to find out whether or not that stock is the right stock to be in a particular portfolio. It's very, very unlikely that you have the time to be able to do that. I know I don't. So as a result, I miss those opportunities if I was managing my own portfolio. But in a mutual fund, you get that portfolio manager every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, thinking about your interest at a very nominal cost. That because we're pooling the cost of that research and of that analyst's time amongst many, many customers. So as a result, the cost to you is very small. But the benefit can be great. And I think that's one of the major advantages of a mutual fund and the mutual fund business. Okay. What else you got? You know, mutual funds are a wonderful investment, as I've been telling you. But you never know when you're going to need some money. That I'm the advocate of making sure that each and every month you put a little bit away. But you know, in life, opportunities come your way or expenses come your way. Just this morning, I took a phone call from my wife. And Catherine said to me, she says, you know, Gary, she says, we've been spending a little more money than the normal this particular month because we've been buying some furniture, and actually my son is entering college on the 1st of January, and we had a large tuition fee we had to pay. And I said, well, don't worry, I'll just cash in some mutual funds. At the end of the day there is a great liquidity to that money because I can get that money, and on relatively short notice, I can cash it in, just what I need, and then have it so as I can take care of those unexpected day-to-day expenses that grew maybe a little faster than I thought they were going to. And that type of flexibility in your financial portfolio is a wonderful thing. Because what you're doing is you're not going to have to incur debt to get the money, because if you own just a stock, it may be a bad time to sell that stock. Or if you own a strip bond or something, it may not be the appropriate time to sell it either. But in a mutual fund, you have that flexibility of to be able to do that at any time, and that works to your advantage. Asset allocation, big word. What does asset allocation mean? Well, asset allocation is really, how do I minimize my risk? You see, we're all very different, and at different ages, at different economic earning power of individuals, what happens is the situation varies quite a bit. And it can vary in your lifetime. That there's a standard life cycle. And the life cycle is that the individual's financial needs when they're young, when they've got a growing family, when you're having new babies, as I said, when you're getting a new apartment. Then you move towards a phase where you're kind of being a little more stable. Your kids are a little older. And then eventually you're going to need some money for their education. You're eventually going to need money for your daughter's wedding. These are all very important lifetime events. And then you hit the big one, which is retirement. How do I maximize my returns during all these periods against the risk profile that I'm in that period? And that is the beauty of mutual funds, is what we'll do is we will make sure that you can have product choices that match the life cycle that you're in with the risk. And what do I mean by asset allocation specifically? What I mean is equities. Everybody talks about equity and the equity market goes up. Well, the equity market goes up and it goes down. So there's risks there. In the business, we refer to that, it does have a high or a low beta. But at the end of the day, there's a risk associated with that. We have absolute long-term proof that if you invest in equities over the long term, you're going to get a better yield than you get on a fixed or instrument, which is more of a bond, a debt instrument of some kind. But you may be at a life stage where you haven't got that long-term view as you do when you're young. So as a result, it's more important that your asset allocation is more on the debt side, because it's more conservative. It can give you greater stability, not without risk also, but also it gives you more predictability. And then there are other times in your life where you need some cash component there because you want to be able to take a monthly income, or you want a dividend component in order to maximize tax savings and tax advantages. Well, I'm starting to get a little complicated here, and I don't mean to. But what you can see is that every individual at your different life stage can have a different portfolio for your needs. And that's nothing more than asset allocation. Is what's appropriate for me, my family, at this point in time in my life. And it's our job at Bearless Sun Life Asset Management to make sure we have the products that can fulfill those needs, that give you the benefits that you require. And that's an important obligation that we have that we don't take lightly. Okay? You said that last time. If I can talk about one other aspect of mutual funds, and that is the long-term kind of nature of the product, and the need for you to kind of to view it as a long-term. And as I said, I'm going back to that consistent monthly contribution. Now, some people say, I'm going to buy a mutual fund, or I'm going to buy an asset of some kind, and I'm going to buy this particular one, and you know what? I'm going to be able to market time it. And I'm going to watch it ride up, and then I'm going to bail, I'm going to cash it in, and I'm going to be a big winner. Well, I've seen many a market cycle here in India, and the market cycles are never predictable. If everybody knows when stocks are going to go up and when they're going to fall, I can tell you there would be a lot of wealthy people in India. The reality is that it's unpredictable. And the unpredictable nature of that makes it difficult, almost impossible, for the average consumer, the average investor to get it right. The truth is, even the professional money managers, people at Bearless Sun Life Mutual Fund and all the other mutual funds, work very, very hard just to beat the average. So, if you are out there as an individual thinking that you can be a smart market timer, that you can go in and out, then you are very talented or very lucky. And again, I found that I don't want to risk my financial future on luck. What I want to do is build my financial future on stable, consistent investment principles that cause success in the long run. And that's what a mutual fund will do for you. It will give you financial stability. It will give you financial security. It will give you that long-term view, that long-term comfort that I think we all strive for to protect our families and our financial futures. Okay. When's the right time to buy a mutual fund? Of course, I have a vested interest in telling you to do it now. Well, if you put that aside, what I would encourage you to do is to review your financial portfolio. Talk to your financial advisor. Talk to your spouse. Talk to people that you trust as to what you should be doing regarding your financial future. Because where that should lead you is into a plan. And that's what we all need. We all need a plan. What mutual funds can do is it can help provide and be an aspect of your financial plan. And through this tape, through this message today, what I've been trying to do is to show that each individual needs a specific plan for themselves. They need a plan that they're comfortable with. They need a plan that's right for them, not right for their neighbor, but right for them. And at the end of the day, you're the one that has to put your head on the pillow at night and feel comfortable. Because no one else knows what that comfort level is. And as you look around and as you see your children, as you see your parents, that financial security becomes very, very, very important because of the needs that they're going to have today and tomorrow. And at Bearless Sun Life Asset Management, if we could be part of those plans, we would very much appreciate your business.